Does America want a recession? Hi, this is Jeff Beers, Channels 40 Finance, and today I'm looking at trying to figure out, does America want a recession? And what I mean by that is if you watch the media, if you watch social media and the way people talk in this essentially historical boom time that we're having right now, it still feels like everyone's looking for the negatives. They're digging deep to find the negatives. The tariffs, the interest rate hikes, you name it, folks are seeking out basically reasons to fail. And I think that that's counterproductive to any investment strategy. I think that there's always going to be a pocket of stocks and maybe broad swaths of stocks that are going to do well regardless of the economic conditions. But frankly, I'm not even sold on the fact that we're going to even have a recession. And if you look at the fundamentals of earnings for companies and tax cuts and unemployment and wage growth in America, there's a lot of reason to think that the average Joe on the street wouldn't even know that there's a threat of a recession right now, because that's how good things are from a historical standpoint. So this is one example of how the media and I think the frenzy of wanting to fail and wanting to have a recession is starting to impact companies. Toll Brothers, which is a very popular stock luxury home builder, multi-million-dollar homes, they came out with some disappointing guidance going forward, and they basically said that it's almost entirely driven on sentiment. So the public sentiment of where housing's going to be and what interest rates have done to the current market is causing a downturn. And to quote from the CEO, he basically comes out and just calls it as he sees it. And he says the effect on buyer sentiment of well-publicized reports of a housing slowdown have affected the bottom line. So people are reading stories about interest rates going up. They're reading about a potential recession, and they're freaking out, even though there's not really a factual base behind any of it. And frankly, at Toll Brothers level, where you're talking about multi-million-dollar properties where most of the owners are probably going to pay cash, this seems like a whim, right? This seems like people coming out of the market on a whim just to be safe. And I can't blame them for that to some degree, but it concerns me when I read not necessarily just Toll Brothers, but when I read other companies are having revenue challenges based on the feelings that the media has put out there in opinion. We forget sometimes how powerful the media and social media can be, and we all know that news has gotten very negative from a headline clickbait standpoint, and it looks like some of this is starting to catch up to companies like Toll Brothers. And it's unfortunate because it becomes almost a fabricated recession instead of one that's actually based on economic principles. So here's a couple more examples of news headlines that I see every day. I think these just happened to be around last week. That get me wondering, are we having a recession because of unemployment? Can people not find a job? Can people not find a house? Can people not invest in vehicles that give them a return? And vehicles, I mean investing vehicles. Is there a struggle for people to buy consumer goods? I don't see those things, at least from what I've studied. But when you go on the news and on the internet, and JP Morgan comes out and says we're going to have basically 60% chance we're going to have a recession in the next 2 years, which first of all is 24 months away, obviously, or within that time. So there's still a ton of opportunity to make money prior to the recession, and even with the recession, particularly whatever people think this upcoming one would be. I think you're still going to see a lot of markets that are making good money. Technology, I don't see going away. Healthcare, I don't see going away, regardless of recession, because these are the things that are actually pushing America forward right now. So, but this automatically, a headline like this automatically takes vast population, takes their money, and they're scared, and now they don't do anything with it, even though they haven't. Even though savings rates are higher than they've ever been in America, now all this money is going to sit on the sidelines because of headlines like this. So it just seems odd. And it's JP Morgan. Like, do they not have investing clientele they're trying to recruit money to, and then you're going to come out and do this? Just doesn't make a lot of sense for me. And then I think yesterday, the Dow drops 800 points amongst interest rate fears. Guys, the interest rates are historically low. You know, it's unfortunate that they're not zero anymore, but by any comparison across the stretch of time, interest rates are unbelievable. The Fed has already come out and said the current interest rate, which has went up a couple times this year, is about where it needs to be. They might have a couple more 0.25% hikes. Interest rates are not bad. If you think interest rates are bad, then just go back to the 80s and look at what people were paying 20% interest mortgages, right? So that's what a recession is. Don't forget the housing bust wasn't necessarily a problem with interest rates. It was a problem with folks being granted houses and home loans that they couldn't afford, right? And then those debts being sold off 12 times over. I don't think we're talking about that situation right now. I think we're talking about, you know, applications for home loans have gone down, not because of money, but because of rumors that interest rates are skyrocketing, which is just really not the case. And if you're anywhere close to buying a home over the next 5 years, and you know for sure that that's a choice that you're going to make for your family, I highly recommend you go out and get a loan. They're not even going to stay this low forever, and that's not a bad thing, but take advantage of the opportunity, right? So I think the broad topic here of does America want a recession? It's just an opinion from me on all the stuff I read. I feel like people are more excited about talking about a recession than they are talking about money. Not exactly sure why that is, because it's not good news for us when the economy slows down, because the opportunities to make money go down with it. So you shouldn't be rooting for a recession. You shouldn't be sharing recession news with all your friends, because it's not going to make your life any better. What you should be doing, and what the media should be doing, is pulling out pockets of the success stories, of which there are hundreds every single day, hundreds of stocks in the stock market that are performing well, hundreds of earnings growth stories. They're all out there. Try to look through the noise and find what's working and invest and make some money during this so-called downtime. I'm Jeff Beers. This is 40 Finance. See you on the next video.